Hello and welcome to this gate overview. And today we're looking at gate 37, and this is the gate of the family and the gate of friendship. And you can see from the mandala here in the image that gate 37 is in a channel and it is also in a polarity with gate 40. So that means that it's both the other end of the channel and it is also the other side of the wheel. So gate 37 is the one in the solar plexus, and gate 40 is the one in the heart ego center. Gate 40 is the gate of deliverance. It is, what else is it? It is the gate of aloneness. And together they form the channel of community, which is a design of a part seeking to be a whole. Gate 40, what else can I tell you about that? Oh no, first let me say that there are only three times when the channel is also the polarity. I don't have a diagram for it, so if you can see my pointer, we've got the 43 here, which is at about 1 o'clock, and that goes down to the 23. So that's the polarity, and then that would actually also be between the throat and the ajna, the channel 4323. And the other is the 34, which is actually very close to that. It's here on the wheel, if you can just see that. And then that goes down to the 20. So the 20 is in the throat center, and the 34, of course, the gate of power in the sacral center. So those are the only three times that we get a channel that is also a polarity. Okay, so in the majority of cases, because of this polarity harmonic thing, when we have the 37, it is part of the channel. We don't often see it not defined. It's just a feature of the mechanic. Most people will have it either through the Sun-Earth opposition or through their nodal opposition. So 3740s are very natural in a way to have that definition. And of course, there are those who have it singly. Bear is one. It is rarer to have it singly. And it's also rarer to have it as the channel, but not as the Sun Earth or the nodal thing, which is how I have it actually, because I have the 37 in my Jupiter and the 40 is in my Pluto. So these things do happen, but it's more frequent to have it as a Sun Earth or a nodal opposition. Okay, so lots to talk about here with the 37. It's an emotional gate, of course. It is in the solar plexus, and it is the only emotional gate that opens up to the ego. The 37th gate can be very needy. It needs loyalty, it needs bonds, and it needs support. What it offers in its turn is the 37th gate kind of feel-good factor. The 37 has the most refined feel-good of the whole solar plexus. The emotional system, by its nature, it's the wave. It rises and it falls. When there is an emotional high, the quality of that something is taken in by someone who has an open emotional system, and they amplify it. So I feel good, Bear feels better. And obviously, the opposite is true, which is not so much fun. But very often, Bear will feel almost better than I do because of that amplification that is part of the mechanic that plays between any open or undefined and defined center. This is just how it works. So if I feel bad, then Bear might also pick that up and amplify it back at me. The stream is about sensitivity. This runs from the 40 to the 37. Well, actually, it starts in the 19 because that's the fuel of the stream. And when we look at streams, we always look at the fuel first. So the fuel is in the 19 in the root center. It goes up to the 49 in the solar plexus, and then across the solar plexus to the 37 and the 40. And it's a stream that is all about touch. The 37th gate is the gate of friendship. And it's the gate of family, the gate of affection and touching and hugging. And all of that comes with a price, because in the tribe, there is always a bargain. And here we have the possibility of who will or who will not provide what is needed. This is the energy. And in the wave, there is that potential always to see who will provide and who won't. So that's why I said there's always a price. The 37 needs the power of the ego, and it's always looking for it. possibility here is the sense of touch and the mouth. The 40 is the stomach, and the mouth is at the other end. And the mouth is always saying, your stomach is full, time for mine to be filled up. The deepest relationship between the 37 and the 40 has to do with resources. This whole stream has to do with resources, and it's something that you will hear a lot as we go through the lines of gate 37. So this gate of friendship, which is part of the channel of community, it's called the design of a part seeking a whole. You can't be a tribe on your own. You can enjoy your own company. I mean, of course, that's a given, but you can't really be a tribe of one. And there is a huge drive in tribal circuitry to belong to the community, to belong to something that is bigger than you are on your own. We still have a genetic memory of how important tribe used to be just to our survival. For our ancestors to be without tribe was pretty much having a death sentence of some sort. Being kicked out of the tribe was the ultimate punishment. And there are still echoes of that in our makeup. We don't want to be singled out. We don't want to be different. Well, we do want to be different, but we don't want to be too different. We don't want to draw too much attention to ourselves and have the tribe say, oh, you don't belong anymore. We might like to be a bit eccentric now and then. And individuality, as we know, as a circuit group, it tends to want to walk to the rhythm of its own drum. But anything to do with the tribe, well, it needs a little bit more of that stickiness that comes with the tribe, the cohesiveness that holds it together, that needs the continuity that comes with tribe. And of course, the continuity is another gate within the tribal circuit. That's gate 32. So you see how all of these keynotes play together, and they can give us a story of our experience through life. 37 is the most communal of all the gates. It's the transpersonal expression of the potential of sensitivity. And it's also a gate that focuses that sensitivity for communal expression, holding the possibility to offer support and friendship to others. The tribal circuit group, which includes the ego and defense circuits, it's the most inherently social of all the circuits. They establish, support, and maintain our communities. Once the sexual imperative has been satisfied through the 59-6, through those defense activations, the community is the next essential development. It's the gate of affection, the 37, and because it's the gate of the mouth, it's also the gate of the kiss. And it has the capacity to have a kind of warmth that opens itself up to others. This is the gate of the sense of touch. It's the outstretched arms, ready to embrace the outsider. It's the possibility of awareness that lies in the touch, not in the energy to embrace, in the touch itself. It's a gate that seeks, it is actually looking for God, ultimately, for some kind of spirituality. And it's also looking for the glue that holds life together, the purpose that holds life together, the deeper meaning behind it all. Above the lines, it says the manifestation macro and micro-cosmically of the organic nature of communities. The manifestation macro and microcosmically of the organic nature of communities. In looking at the nature of this circuit within the body graph, well, any circuitry, actually, there are lots of different circuits. It's not just the 6 general circuits that we refer to on the surface. We also have things like the mystical circuit, which I've referred to before, and that goes from the 1949 through the 3740, and then it goes up into the ego center, and it goes to the 51, 25, and then across the G center to the 10 and up to the 20. So that's the mystical circuit. And it's an interesting one, the mystical circuit, because although the 3740 is in there, it's not actually a mystical channel. It's the bridge that operates within the mystical circuit. And yet it is also the channel that is essential for what we call religious or spiritual practices, because it is a community of faith in that sense. And it is the 37 at the mystical level that is always looking for the hand of God. It's always crying out to be touched. The search for spirituality, for mysticism in life, or for faith, it's similar in many ways to the 1156 in that it's not about finding anything. It's the search, it's the seeking. And particularly in the 37. Remember that the 40, the gate at the other end, is a gate of denial. So you think about the lower trigram here, in the 37, the lower trigram with its personal inward oriented perception, it doesn't know there's a harmonic gate at the other end of the channel, which means that even though this is an inherently social channel, they're not really that equipped to be social. But the 3740 is a channel of the bargain, and the 37th gate has difficulty with the bargain because it's emotional. This is the dilemma of the emotional system, because of course there's no truth in the now for an emotional being. If you have a defined solar plexus and you have the 37th gate, or you have the whole channel here, one of the things to recognize about life is that no arrangement is clear in the moment. Seriously, no arrangement at all, regardless of what it is. And so for everyone who has the 37th gate, everything in life has to be recognized. It's all potentially an arrangement. A friendship, or the friendships are offered by this gate, it can never be free of an underlying bargain. I feed the blackbirds, they sing for me. If only they did. Come here, come on. I think the bargain is they sit on the windowsill and I feed them. That's the bargain that's been made there. So, okay, friendship is always, there is always a bargain there. And the 37, it's always seeking loyalty. It's always looking for a promise of loyalty in return. The wave of emotional awareness, it leads to the hope and pain in the cycle of friendships. There's always loyalty, disloyalty. There's always a promise, a broken promise, even in the best and most enduring friendships. The tribe demands support. This arrangement is so important. And through the 37th gate, it is not simply the demand of support, but, it's that handshake, or it's the embrace. It's the signing at the bottom of the contract. Yeah, that is what it's laying out so clearly what the bargain is, what others are being held to, what you are holding yourself to. This is what really matters. You imagine the old, you see it in the mafia films, like The Godfather, things like that. That kissing on either side of the thing. That's a bargain. When you're doing that, yes, I'll do this for you. Okay, now you're signed, sealed, and you're mine. Go do it. It's something a 37 is always looking for, the perfect bargain. Might be with the family, it might be with their employer or with their lover or with God. The headline, it says that in the Ravi Ching, I read it earlier, the manifestation, macro and micro-cosmically, of the organic nature of communities. This is the 37th gate, and in its foundation, its first line, is the mother-father. This is the basic structure of the family, the foundation of the family. The way that the family gets locked in to a single bargain. We live in a duality, of course, and so the fact that the 37th gate is affectionate also means that it can be really cold. And this is the other side of the 37. When the 37 has what it needs, it can be very cold. It can turn its back on what it doesn't need anymore, or whoever provided what was needed, because I don't need you now, I've got what I needed, thank you very much. And of course it's harsh, and it's also part of the mechanic. And as with anything else here, if we don't take it personally, then it's fine. If we are a little bit maybe I mean, not self is a thing for, but if that is where we are, if we are not living from the expression of our true self, we do take these things personally and we can get really messed up around them. But the 37, it moves in its wave and it goes from being ready to give affection openly and warmly and without conditions. Yes, of course, to completely holding back all affection. I'll kiss you, I won't kiss you. I'll hug you, I won't hug you. Think just for a moment about the dilemma of someone who has the 37th gate in an undefined solar plexus. There. The moment that their emotional system is defined either through the program or through someone coming into the aura, all of a sudden the 37th gate has its capacity to be affectionate or not. And it is something that becomes inflated in the impact of taking in the emotional energy from the other. And the result is that these are beings who can be very, very unclear in the way in which they emotionally deal with the other. And remember, the strategy of the open solar plexus is avoiding confrontation and truth. So you can see how all these things kind of play together. The 37th gate is a very important gate to our whole community structure. It's one of the elements of the larger cycle that we're living in right now. You know, one of the frameworks upon which our concepts of family and community have evolved for the last 400 years. 400 years. That's all that has been known in our background soup that we're all swimming in, is that family, it's all about family, it's all about community, it's all about support, it's all about bargains. Now, this is the energy that we're moving away from as a global experience because the cycle is changing. And of course, those of us who carry this energy, we will still experience all the qualities that it carries. And the energy itself will still be in the world until we've all left it. And then that's when the new energy will really come into its flowering. But already you can feel bargains don't have the same importance they used to have. You know, you can make an appointment with a gardener to come and have a look at your beds to see, can you do anything? And yes, they'll be here at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Nope. Or they come and they fanny around and they give you an amazing quote and then you never hear from them again. And these things that used to be, like people used to take such pride in that kind of thing of making a bargain, keeping the bargain. And now it's like, and that sounds really judgmental. I don't mean it in that way at all because I can see the program playing out. And in that way, it's really amazing. You know, there's a real beauty to it when you understand the mechanic behind it. It's well, it's quite a thing to see. So bargains, the institutions, all of these things that we've built up over the last 400 years, they are losing their importance in our world. And it will take a while for them all to go away, of course. But already, as I say, these frequencies are in flux and we can feel them. So we know from our explorations around the wheel through gates 49, 30, and 55 that we've just explored really recently, that food is really important. And nowhere does it take on such a level of importance as it does in the tribe. Now, where bargains are made over the dinner table, where the wealth of the tribe is displayed through the food that is on the table. You know, it used to be that the nobility were the ones who could afford to have, they'd have these outrageous things, wouldn't they? Like they'd have a swan that was stuffed with a pheasant, that was stuffed with a quail, that was stuffed with a sparrow or something. But because it was just a symbol of like, you know, we can afford to do this. You know, you can barely afford to eat the ash off the street. We can afford to have these foods. You know, probably tasted disgusting, but that wasn't the point. The point is that this is something that we can show. We have got the wealth to be able to do this. And the tribe must be fed. You know, the 37th gate, the gate of the mouth, and the 40 with the stomach, it tells you really pretty much all you need to know about what is going on in the tribe. Feed the tribe, and they're not necessarily going to march into a revolution, even though they say an army marches on its stomach. But if the tribe is happy, why would they want to revolt? Right? The food on the table keeps the tribe and the family together. You feed them well, you give them that nourishment, you give them that support that they need, and the family will stay intact. And that's what the tribe wants. And the genuinely warm and friendly nature, it's true, it's there. I mean, it is for that reason, but it still doesn't make it any less true that it's part of the 37. There is a lot of nurturing. There is the ability to make an emotional connection with others. It's connected to the solar plexus after all. It's the emotional center. There's always that possibility of a true connection that comes through touch. So the 37 is a very social gate, much more so than the 40, which is the gate of aloneness. But this is the gate of friendship and family. It's keeping the family together. It's the community representative. It's the one who stands at the door and welcomes the newcomer in, makes them feel part of the family. It sits them down, ties them up, gives them tea. Doesn't always tie them up. That's my own personal. No, let's not go there. It gives them tea, gives them cake. It's you're part of the family now. Come in and eat with us. It's in so many of the religions, isn't it? You break bread together as part of the religious ceremony. So anyway, the 37, it's really big on feeding people. I speak from experience. Gonna have lunch with my brothers this weekend. I don't see them all that often, but one of them has turned into some kind of outrageous age, and we're having lunch this weekend. I'm taking bread. They don't need my bread. They have plenty of bread. There's a Tesco next door, but this is something I have to do this because I can't turn up without food. It's it is what it is. What to do. When we looked at the 55-6, we saw that this is a place where the mutation in the emotional system will begin. The mutation which will see the emotional awareness start to emerge as a genetic mutation in the new children as they start being born from 2027 onwards. And it's not all children. I've heard this mentioned in some places that all children from 2027 will be born rave. No, they won't. It will be the minority of children who will be born rave. The mutation always takes place in individuality. They are the ones who hold mutation as part of their genetic makeup. And yet, the fact that mutation exists in individuality and in all aspects of individuality, it doesn't mean that mutation is transferable to society as a whole. The ultimate goal of the mutative process is to find a mutation that is of benefit to the entire genetic pool. That's what mutation wants to get in there and get out and touch everybody. And that's why we have such mutative potential right now in the world with so many people. Our genetic pool is huge. This is part of the cross of planning. We have made this possible. We are part of a program. It's not happening by chance. And it's also not happening by chance that the mutation is in our cells now. It is genetically available, although that final twist still has to happen. And so fertility is dropping. We do not need this massive gene pool anymore. And actually, as we move forward into the new cycle, we won't be able to support it. But this is why we have all of this mutative potential to get to the point where we have valuable and effective mutations. But in order for that mutation to take hold, it won't happen in the collective. It has to go into the tribe. We talked about this before. It must end up in the tribe with the friction, the conflict. The tribe has an inherent recognition of stagnation, especially in the genetic pool. The farmer's daughter. This is a story Ra used to tell. The stranger who would rock up at the door and come on in, have tea, sit down, tied up, have some cake, and then get married off to the farmer's daughter. And they would become part of the tribe, and that new, genetic blood would come in. And that sounds like a Stephen King story, actually, doesn't it? I'm sure it's there are better ways of telling it than that. But what it really means when you're refreshing the genetic pool, one way or another, is the mutation must have an impact on the totality, on the global genetic pool. Look at the migration that we've had in this world. It's incredible. And the cross of planning, the left angle of that, because the cross of planning is the right angle. When you move into the left angle, you have the cross of migration. look at the movement of people we've had and have on this planet. You know, it's not about having a stagnant gene pool these days. It's quite an incredible thing to witness. But what that literally means is that the tribe must be mutated first. That's where mutation is going, on the global genetic pool, and it gets there through the tribe. So we have this movement that also goes of the 55-6. Naturally, in the wheel, it goes to the 37. And it comes into the family and all the family's friends and, you know, the bridge club and the larger community. The awareness that is in the emotional sense, you'd say the clarity, I guess, of who will or who will not provide. This is the awareness that is coming through the 3740, this channel of community. And as I said, it is such a common channel because of it being an opposition. And so we have the communities everywhere. It's a basic bond that we have is through our community. 37 is here to attract the ego out of its rest, because the ego loves to rest, and it's attracting it out and putting it to work. The 37 has a smile that says, for the affection that I can give you, I'm going to get you to work for me, okay? Because that's our bargain. And this is the place where the marriage contract gets written. You know, I'll take out the rubbish, you do the dishes, that whole thing. And it is essential to understand that what we tend to glorify as friendship is really base level an arrangement. And when we can accept that, when our communities are built from the family outward on arrangements that are clear and that are honest in a way, I don't mean that in the judgmental sense, but they're honest because they're clear, then our communities will be more stable. And maybe this is something we need to take into the new cycle, because the bargain won't be as inherent as it is now. So we need to make sure that our bargains are clear, and this generally falls on the 37. Marriage is so often confused with love, and of course it has both everything and nothing to do with love. There was a time when getting married for love was almost unheard of. You know, daughters were chattel. Sons were expected to marry well for the benefit of the tribe, as were the daughters. But the sons would be married off, or they would go into the army or the church, all of which would satisfy some kind of an agreement, either with other families or with the state or with God. If love was involved, then that was more of a thing about luck than planning. One thing to point out here is that the channel of the marriage bargain, we live in a duality, so it can also be referred to as the channel of daily divorce. I think it was Alok Diaz who said that. I heard it through a friend of a friend who had, but this was something, and when I heard that, it was like, okay, because although the 49 is actually the gate of divorce, and the 49-19, they're the bridegroom and the bride, because of the bargain that is inherent in the 3740, there is the divorce here as well. And I kind of laughed and I kind of cried when I first heard this, because, you know, sometimes I had felt this in myself, this sort of feeling of like, nope, that bargain is over. And I felt guilty about it and didn't understand why. And I have gate 40 in the 6th line, which is called decapitation. So it's kind of off with his head, you know. Whenever the bargain was trashed or forgotten or ignored, that's it, I'm done. And again, for me, thank God for human design, because the knowledge of the wave, the knowledge that I have of this channel now, I can ride it out. I can see that it's just the mechanic and it's just the way the channel is designed to behave. I'm not about to divorce my soulmate because he left the kitchen cupboard door open again. uh, but there can be that internal reset, and then I can begin my process again. And that's, you know, it's a bit about the ratchet wave, really, isn't it? It goes up and you notice it, and it goes up again and it goes up, and it's not until like, okay, you've left that open again that your wave goes. And of course it might not actually even have been that triggered it, because the ratchet can be quite interesting. But regardless of all of that, the information that we learn in human design can make such a difference. Such a difference, really. It's such valuable information. The tribe does a lot of that kind of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of thing, which is a bargain by any name, of course. We might not frame it like that to each other, but that's exactly what is happening. And it's what it is when we build on gate 19 and gate 49 in that same stream. It's a very deep link here to the needs, to the resources, all of that, the assets and the skills of the tribe, being sensitive to them, but also delivering on them. Yeah, because it's all very well being able to say, oh, this is what we need, but you also need someone who's there to be able to somehow deliver. And the 37 is very good at finding the people who can deliver the resources that are needed to the rest of the tribe. And usually it's going to come from gate 40, which is called deliverance, after all. I mean, that's its name, clues in the title, Bambaji. And because it links it to the ego, that means there's that energy, it's that motor and the willpower that is there to look after the tribe, to deliver to the tribe. But it's the 37 that can spot these people who are good at delivering what is needed and pull them out of their rest. The grounding is coming from gate 40. The gate's called deliverance, as I just said. Then in the traditional I Ching, in human design, we call it the gate of aloneness. And this is the ego heart center. And the headline reads, the point of transition between struggle and liberation. Gate 40 is one of the 3 gates of aloneness that we have in the body graph. There's also the 12 and the 33. The 37 embraces the 40 and it offers it the only thing that the ego is vulnerable to, and that is loyalty. Emotional support drives the will. We've heard that the 40 and the 37 are a harmonic and a channel. So we know that we're going to have this channel all week for the next 5 days as the sun travels through the 37th hexagram. So we'll get to see as we go through how these lines play together, how they support each other. As we travel through this transit, you might feel like if you want to play with the energies, you could bring your focus to the nature of bargains and to the different tribes that you belong to, because your tribe isn't just your family. It's really any group of people that you feel you have an affinity to, that you are part of. What bargains have you made in order to be part of that tribe? You know? Sometimes we might think, well, I was just born into it. It's my family. I didn't have a choice. I didn't join this community. I didn't join this family. Yeah, it's possible. You could look at it that way, of course. But you can also see that there will be some bargains within that structure. Maybe you're the head of the family. That comes with a certain responsibility. Within that responsibility are bargains. Maybe you're the eldest child. Lots of sticky little bargains around being the eldest, being the youngest, also being the only girl, being the only boy, being the unmarried one, being the carer. Lots and lots and lots of sticky little bargains that come in. You know, are there some there that you are just part of without actually having ever questioned them? And I'm not saying you need to go out and trash your bargains. Please don't take that as what I'm saying. But I am saying, are you aware of the bargains that you make? Because it's really interesting when you start looking at them, because some of them actually, yeah, I'm really happy to stay in this particular bargain. This one, I didn't realize, but it's run its course. It's run its course. It's time to renegotiate that particular bargain. And then you can look at if you feel supported by your tribe, because support is a really big element of this. Do they give you opportunities to support them? Because that's also part of it. It needs to work both ways. The energy must flow. Energy always has to flow. Stagnant energy is no good to anybody. In terms of the tribe, though, it's not just about taking. That doesn't work. No, there has to be the give and take. There has to be the flow. We support each other. Oh, sometimes it can be fun to look at communities that you were part of 5 years ago or 10 years ago and see how nourished you feel by it now. And maybe you feel an urge to feed somebody, the 3740 being active. You might not, going to drag someone in off the street and put a 3-course meal in front of them, but maybe there's a bigger draw to feeding people at this time because, as I said, huge part of it, a huge part of the community is food. You go to a club of some kind, nearly always there'll be a tea break with some kind of biscuits or crisps, or there'll be something because that's part of the nature of it. Many different ways to nurture somebody. This is something else to remember as well as this. This is a stream of touch. So there are lots of ways of touching someone, lots of ways to nurture them, lots of ways to touch them. Maybe you will lend them a book that you feel is going to touch their soul, or you want to play them a piece of music that will stir their emotions. This is the solar plex. Remember all of those emotional things that are bubbling up. But if you do give someone a book, or ask them to take a look at a poem that you found particularly moving, are you looking for anything in return? Are you waiting for them to come back and say, oh, thank you for sharing that poem with me. Thank you for sharing that book with me, or whatever it is. Are you looking for anything there? It can be so subtle, and it can be such fun to go, oh God, I did it again. The tribal emotional wave, it's that ratchet and it does keep score. So don't have to do anything with that, but do remember it. Gate 19 in the same stream, it's very much about equitable apportionment, making sure we've all got the same number of peas on potatoes on our plates, checking out the size of cake that's getting dished out. And if you've got the 19, you can't help but notice that. It might not seem fair. Fairness is part of this stream. Very much in the 40, you hear the voice of it's not fair. The tribe has a really good memory about things like this. So to finish off today, I have a poem to read you from Surrender, who I read you some of her poems before, and she has gifted me this one to read to you. It's about the defined solar plexus, which is something that we are all experiencing right now, one way or another, so it seems like an appropriate time to read it. May you ride your emotional wave and own it. May you dive deep into your depths and face them. From hope to despair, from happy to sad, there's no stability ahead. Let yourself be lost in your wave without disappearing. Stay present and await the clarity your journey will bring. May you ride your emotional wave and own it. Though elusive, your wave dares to hold on. Surrendering to its force is your only path to clarity. From hope to despair, from happy to sad, there's no stability ahead. May you ride your emotional wave and own it. Then you'll feel the full, vibrant rainbow, not just see it. And when clarity arrives, you'll be able to live it. Waves of need, passion, or desire, each has its own rhythm to ignite your inner fire. From hope to despair, from happy to sad, there's no stability ahead. May you honor the richness within you and share it when you're ready. Please don't hide. May you ride your emotional wave and own it. From hope to despair, from happy to sad, with no stability ahead. Thank you very much for joining me as we explore this overview for Gate 37. I look forward to going through the lines. It's such a wonderful gate. I mean, they all are, aren't they, really? But yeah, I look forward to going through them nonetheless. I hope you will join me. You are invited, of course, to join me. I will be back very shortly with the first line. Until then, as always, love yourself and go so gently, so gently in this world. Take care. Bye-bye.